A warm welcome, everyone. I'm Pranay Bramseti from Group 2. I'm here with Geetika Agarwal, Shivani Meena, Nikita Mangal, Srishti Jain, Nikita Sen, Pooja Chauhan, and Gunjan Mandavat to present on analysis of macroeconomic environment of business in India in 2020 under the mentorship of Dr. Akanksha Chaudhary. Next slide. First, let's discuss about the gross domestic product. GDP is the monetary value of final goods and services produced within the geographical boundaries of a country. Nominal GDP is a commonly used estimate to determine the economic performance and international comparisons of a country. The components in the GDP are generally private consumption, government consumption, investment, exports, and imports. GDP is highly impacted through the COVID-19 pandemic, mainly in the April-June quarter, and the fall is nearly 24%. It could have turned into a full-fledged recession if it was continued in the third quarter. There is a decline in the investment demand and consumption, which played a major role in the country's growth even before the pandemic. Next slide. The bar diagram shows the trend and shares of the components of GDP since 2011-12. In this graph, GFC represents government final consumption expenditure. PFC represents private final consumption expenditure. GFCF represents gross final capital information. Next slide. Uh, from the above graph, we can observe that the government final expenditure is increased steadily, and private final consumption is constantly decreasing, and government final fixed capital decreased drastically, and exports are slowly increasing, and there is slow decrease in the imports. Some of the policies that can impact on the revival of the economy are Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. The government can universalize the public distribution system and provide free grains and pulses like it did in the second quarter of 2020. This policy can majorly impact on the government consumption, and Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, it is a direct benefit transfer, that is the cash transfer to the population that are economically affected due to the pandemic. Uh, Other one is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. There is an increase in unemployment and many people lost their jobs. This scheme is highly utilized in such situations like pandemic. This is not something that is effective immediately, but it can be implemented in major cities on the pilot basis to have an impact. Provide input tax relief to the selected sectors. The government can provide input tax concessions on the prior manufacturing sectors. This can enhance the supply side effectively with the addition of demand influencing measures like DBT, as we discussed before, and employment guarantee acts, as discussed above. And we can suspend the Fiscal Responsibility and Budgetary Management Act for 2 years. It can induce the fiscal push in the country, and we can monetize the fiscal deficit. There's a need to provide stimulus to the fiscal deficit in order to revive the economy. What to you, Shivani?
So 2020 was a year of unexpected challenges for every sector of the economy. So basically, business cycle or we can say economic cycle refers to the fluctuations in the economic growth of a country in terms of GDP, income or unemployment that happens over 2 to 10 years. So due to COVID, there was complete lockdown, industries were shut down, there was a shock in supply, and as a result, the quarterly real GDP growth rate for April to June quarter one was minus 23.9%. And further, RBI predicted that Indian economy will contract by 8.6% in quarter two. Although there was improvement from that prediction, quarter two GDP contraction slowed down to 7.5% as the unlock process began. As we can see, the real GDP declined for two consecutive quarters for a financial year. So thereby, India officially entered the recession. As we can see in the below figure, the comparison is shown with the different nations. Next slide. This graph shows the business cycle and shows the quarterly real GDP growth in India right from 1951 till 2020. And it shows that India suffered an extreme low of GDP growth of minus 23.9% in 2020. Also, there are two types of business cycle theories, exogenous theories and internal theories. Exogenous theories means the sources of fluctuations in the business cycle are out of the economic system. So definitely the recession in 2020 was on the lines of exogenous theories as it was due to the COVID-19 and which was out of the economic system. It was completely unexpected. Next slide. These are some of the indicators which shows the severity of the recession in 2020, such as extreme low consumer spending, extreme low investment as a percentage of GDP, also quite high unemployment rate as a large number of people lost their jobs. Also, according to RBI, household financial savings reached 21.4% of the GDP in the quarter one, in comparison to 10% in the January-March quarter. Next slide. So here comes the intervention by the government. It was a major COVID stimulus package which was announced by central government, which included 8 lakh crore of liquidity infusion by RBI and fiscal stimulus packages by the government in the form of loans for power discoms, concessional credit for farmers, special credit facility for street vendors, and much more. This was done so as to increase money supply in the economy, and we will further look in more details about this package and its effect in later slides.
Let us now understand what is Keynesian model. Keynes believed that insufficient aggregate demand is the fundamental reason behind the fall of an economy. Decline in the aggregate demand for goods and services directly implies fall in sales, which further leads to increase in unemployment, continuing to decrease the aggregate demand. The Indian government has recently incorporated few of the characteristics of Keynesian theory to combat economic recession due to COVID. The features of the previously discussed financial stimulus packages announced by the government largely aligns with the principles of Keynesian theory. The package assures a huge relief to the agricultural sector, MSMEs, street vendors, non-banking financial companies, distribution companies, and real estate sectors. Using this package, the government is deliberately increasing its expenditure, creating more agro infrastructure, and giving more money in the hands of the public. If our group were to advise as an economic advisor of the country, we would suggest to further incorporate Keynesian model to increase the aggregate demand in the economy. More white-collar jobs can be provided in the education sector, the security sector, the healthcare sector, and particularly to the educated young mass of population. The state must also continue spending more and employ in bulk at all levels of government. This will create a multiplier effect on the economy. That is, this investment will initially raise output by an equal amount, which will consequently lead to an income increase for consumers. As consumers will spend a section of their additional income, the entire chain of additional consumption spending and employment will come into motion, heading towards an increase in the aggregate demand. This will eventually revive industrial production and generate revenue for the government. Though adopting more features from the Keynesian model seems to curb many problems, it also apprehends some dreadful consequences. Firstly, there needs to be someone to fund those expenses, as the government alone might not be able to afford all. Besides this, such a large spending at present might escalate debt for the future generations. However, since the suggestions made by our group do provide a ray of hope in the revival of the economy.
Inflation is the decline of purchasing power in the economy. That is, for the same amount of goods, we have to spend more money. The inflation level is determined by the consumer price index value in India. The increase in price level improves the GDP of the economy, and hence the government decisions are trade-off between growth and inflation. It is caused due to the increase in aggregate demand or reduction in aggregate supply. An inflation rate of 2 to 6% is the target specified by the RBI in India. In the recent COVID-19 crisis, we have experienced a rapid fall in demand as well as shortage of supply due to lockdown. Hence, the inflation rate was above the moderate level almost throughout the year, as shown in the following graph. It spiked to 7.61% in the month of October. To check on inflation, MPC decided to keep the repo rate at 4%, and government also reduces the import duties on edible oil. This helps in the decline of inflation in the month of December to 4.59%. RBI also red flags the large margin charged to the consumers as the reason of high inflation. The state and the central government should come forward to take actions against such uh, hoarders.
Now we will discuss the export and import policy. Import are also goods and service that we can purchase from the rest of the world, but the that are produced domestically and then sold to customer. As we know, no country is a self-sufficient in the terms of goods and service. So we had to come out the policies such as excellence for EXIM policy. Next. Next, foreign change. In the September 2020, in Indian foreign exchange reserve was measured at the 502.2, and the highest record is 502.2 and the lowest record is a 1.1 USD billion. Reserve Bank of India changed the policy almost every month. By the current survey, Indian foreign exchange reserve increased by the 18%. Next. In this figure, we can see the data by October and August, it was increasing, and after that, it's decreasing. Next, the effect of coronavirus pandemic in the Indian foreign trade member. During the pandemic, in the March, because of the decreased demand of gold, stones, so our import by decreased 28.7%, and Indian export also decreased by 34.6% because of all the economic activity shutdown. Next. During in this figure, we can see that Indian export decreased by the 34.6%, and imports also decreased 34.6%, and export also decreased 28.7%. And trade deficit first April 15.3 and in April 19.76. So there's a huge loss in this outbreak. Next.
What is RBI Monetary Policy 2021? It is a policy formulated by Reserve Bank of India in 2020 related to monetary matters of the country. The policy also takes into account the distribution of credit among the users as well as the rate of interest on borrowing and lending. Since India is a developing country, the monetary policy is a significant in the promotion of economic growth. The various components of monetary policy includes variation in bank rates and in other interest rates and supply of currency. On May 2020, the Committee of Monetary Policy decided to reduce the repo rate by 40 basis points to 4.00%. Similarly, reverse repo rate, marginal standing facility, and the bank rate were reduced to 4.25% from 4.65%. This step was taken to increase the money supply and liquidity in the economy, essentially in order if bank can take loan for short-term basis from the RBI at low rates, so the bank will be more incentivized to give loan to people. And similarly, if reverse repo rate is also decreased by 40 basis point, now banks were less incentivized to keep their money with RBI, their extra money, and they can give that money to people instead for more interest rates. That's why the repo rate and the reverse repo rate were decreased by 40 basis point. Similarly, others were also decreased so that the liquidity in the economy can increase. On December 2020, the MPC decided to keep this rate same in the view to reduce the damage caused by novel coronavirus on businesses affected by lockdown, to revive the growth, and also to keep check the inflation rates, which should not go beyond 4 plus minus 2% under liquidity adjustment facility. As you can see that the rates were pretty low so that the liquidity in the economy can increase. The MPC also decided to continue its accommodative stance of monetary policy as long as necessary on December 4. That's why they didn't keep the repo rate and the other rates unchanged on December 4, 2020, and to revive the growth on durable basis and mitigate the impact of COVID-19 and keep the inflation rate within the target. The accommodative stance means that the central bank will cut the rates to inject money into financial system whenever needed. And if this stance changes to neutral by central government, then it means that the RBI will alter rates in any direction to control the money supply in the system. After rejecting all the open market operations on 24th September 2020, Reserve Bank of India announced special OMO. The Central Bank of India also decided to conduct simultaneous purchase and sale of government securities under open market operation for aggregate amount of 10,000 crore each on October 1, 2020. And according to industry insiders, the aim of this step is to push bond yield in India and expect that RBI will continue to do this in future as well.
Now coming to the monetary transmission mechanism, it is the path through which monetary policies affect the liquidity in the economy, which impact output and inflation. Last year, RBI followed the expansionary policy in which it cut off policy rates in hope of reduction in bank lending rates and increase in money supply. But India suffers a lag in transmission from policy rates to bank lending rates. Last year, we saw a total reduction of 1.15% in repo rate, and the WALR, which is the weighted average lending rate for SCBs, has reduced only 0.71%. Hence, the effect of cutoff was not transmitted to the economy as expected. Some reasons for this lag can be that many large firms use the rate cutoffs to deleverage their previous debts instead of using for growth, and small firms and MSMEs were doubtful of creating enough income to pay back new loans. Also, the money demand by depositors has lowered because of uncertainties, leading to more saving tendencies. Banks, too, in fear of uncertainties, followed risk-averse lendings to prevent NPAs. This was also reflected in the huge rise in reverse repo operations, despite a low rate of 3.5%. But this lag had been even earlier because of weak balance sheets and other issues, including outstanding loans still at base rates and large number of loans, long-term fixed deposits. Now, talking about some of the measures taken by RBI to improve the monetary transmission, in October 2019, RBI introduced external benchmarks for all floating rate personal or retail loans and loans to MSE enterprises. On February 26, this scheme was also extended to any previous loan extensions by MSEs. Two other schemes called LTRO and TLTRO were also introduced. Under LTRO or long-term repo operation, RBI bought government bonds for 1 to 3 years to ensure long-term liquidity, and TLTRO was targeted lending to specific investment-grade corporates. A recent measure include the introduction of LEF and MSF facilities for regional rural banks for improving their liquidity management. Other than these, the Operation Twist or special OMOs can help increase long-term lending. Under this, RBI sells short-term securities and buy long-term securities worth the same amount. This increases the demand for long-term bond and which increases prices, which reduces interest rates and encourages firms and households to borrow more.
Fiscal policy is the way a government adjusts its spending levels and tax rates to monitor and influence a nation's economy. The idea of fiscal policy is really simple. When the economy is going too fast or too slow, government can push the brakes or accelerators by changing government spending or taxes. Main objectives of fiscal policy in India are economic growth. Fiscal policy helps maintain the economy's growth rate so that certain economic goals can be achieved. It controls the price level of the country so that when the inflation is too high, prices can be regulated. It aims to achieve full employment or near full employment as a tool to recover from low economic activity. To address the slowing economy and global pandemic, Government of India took various measures. Some of them are listed here. It followed a dual strategy. It paid employer and employee provident fund contributions for 3 months for workers earning less than 15,000 per month. To support MSMEs, it provided a collateral-free loan of rupees 3 lakh crores to enable 45 lakh units to restart work and save jobs. It announced a fiscal first half borrowing number that was lower than what traders expected. It sold 4.88 trillion rupees of bonds in the 6 months to September, which was 62.5% of the budgeted amount. Uh, To directly finance the deficit, it used the escape clause in Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. It was recalibrated to 3.8% of the GDP. For capital markets, it raised the threshold of defaults needed to trigger insolvency proceedings to 10 million rupees. The shareholders were allowed 45 more days to disclose their consolidated shareholding in companies. For consumers, various policies were announced like free food and fuel, the cash transfers, insurance cover, and for people earning less than rupees 15,000 a month, 24% of their monthly wages into pension and provident fund accounts. However, the relief measures do not seem to be commensurate with the economic disruption caused by the lockdown. Some immediate measures which can be taken by the government are uh, expanding existing cash transfer programs. The total Atmanirbhar package is billed at 10% of GDP. The headline number for India's fiscal response in international databases is around 4% of GDP, but it has been estimated that the new fiscal outlay, including the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana of March, the direct fiscal aspects of Atmanirbhar Bharat, and the extension of free rations under the public distribution system, is around only 1.7% of GDP. Cash transfers constitute the largest category of support, and demand side interventions announced by other developing countries could provide lessons to India. India has been a leader in employment guarantee policies with its flagship Mahatma Gandhi Narega program. This is the right time to expand entitlements in this program as well as introduce an urban version of the program. Furthermore, it's true that during the 11 months of the pandemic, almost all poor have become poorer and the rich in India has grown richer. The Sensex touching the mark of 50,000 is a clear indication of that. Oxfam has recently submitted its report to World Economic Forum talking about the virus of inequality, stating that it's worse than coronavirus. It tells us that the income of the billionaires in our country increased by 35%, while 84% Indian families suffered loss of income. And in April 2020, 1.7 lakh people lost their job every hour. The gap did exist before, but the pandemic has widened the gap even more, and a lot is being expected from the upcoming budget in 3 days to address this issue. Thank you.